Shabbat Shalom, Kal Halal, Yahweh Shemel, Shabbat Shabbat Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops, the great millstone, even the elders that came before them and taught us his truth. Shabbat Shalom. Salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word in truth and sincerity, the hopeful tabernacle of David. I'm the elder Yashawan. Shabbat Shalom and salutations to you all. This is the World War III Daily Update. And everybody should know what's going on right now, or at least think you should know. But there's a war going on, and it hasn't stopped. Certainly has not stopped in Lebanon, okay, or in the Golan Heights, or what they call the West Bank, okay. Hezbollah is over there whooping a whole lot of ass. So before we do that, let the week. Let's go, Joel 3 and 10. It's just going to keep coming out because this is just astounding what's going on. It's 2006 all over again, but this is worse than 2006 for the Israelis. Joel 3 and 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I'm strong. These swords are missiles and drones. Spears are drones. Okay. Now you're no longer weak. Listen, Iran just won that war. Okay. Iran won the war, and Trump, he surrendered. Okay, what is that? Let the weak say I am strong. Okay, so with that being said, let's watch this Boris Zekman. Right. This is always a little unhinged, but they do have some information that other people don't bring out. So it says IDF lost its commanders of the elite Golani brigade right after Israel violated a truce deal. Okay, so they ain't cutting them no slack. It's got to be the West Bank or Lebanon.
Well, my dear truth seekers, as you can see, Iran's threats that Trump will greatly regret if he dares to hit Iran's energy infrastructure have produced results. On the morning of April 8th, Donald Trump announced that he had decided to postpone strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure for another 2 weeks. At the same time, it is worth noting that right after that, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi officially announced that Tehran is also considering the option of a 2-week cessation of hostilities. Furthermore, the senior Iranian diplomat acknowledged that it was Pakistan that played a crucial role in resolving the conflict. However, even though the parties have managed to agree on a temporary truce, the main question remains open. What will happen in 2 weeks? When the truce period ends? Furthermore, there are still many questions about Israel's future actions, not only towards Iran, but also Lebanon, where the IDF is still fighting, trying to annex the southern part of the country.
Now, the reason why this is important, because you got your boy J.D. Vance out there saying, Lebanon was never part of the deal. Lebanon was never we never made that. You motherfuckers are moving the goalposts anytime you get a chance.
Meanwhile, the Iranians have already begun to celebrate victory in the war against the U.S.-Israeli coalition. On the morning of April 8th, all the state-owned Iranian news channels announced Iran's victory in this war. Moreover, they also stated that the United States had agreed to accept all of Tehran's conditions, including those related to the payment of reparations to Iran for the damage caused, and the withdrawal of American troops from the Middle East. It is noteworthy that an hour later, Iran's Supreme National Security Council also announced Iran's victory in the war against the United States and Israel. The official statement says that the Iranian people have managed not only to defeat the United States and Israel, but to unite in the face of a common enemy. By the way, the victory in the war in the Middle East was also announced in the United States. In particular, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said at a press conference that the United States had won a victory over Iran. According to her, this victory was made possible solely thanks to President Trump and the American armed forces. Caroline Leavitt noted that it was thanks to Trump's tough stance that Iran was forced to accept a diplomatic settlement of the conflict and to open the Strait of Hormuz. At the same time, Caroline Leavitt decided not to tell reporters that the Strait of Hormuz is still under Iranian control, and that the United States has agreed that Tehran will charge a fee for passage through the strait. Furthermore, the White House press secretary also decided to hide from American reporters the fact that the Trump administration has already weakened sanctions against Iran, as a result of which the countries of the world have already begun to return to direct purchases of Iranian oil. For example, India, for the first time in 7 years, bought Iranian oil. At the moment, 2 tankers laden with Iranian oil have already headed to Indian ports for unloading. By the way, an authoritative military expert, Alexander Kotz, called everything that is happening a humiliating defeat for the United States. Alexander Kotz notes that the United States, by attacking Iran, pursued several important objectives at once. To change the regime in Iran, completely knock Tehran out of the regional arena, take control of the Strait of Hormuz, and impose a tough deal on the nuclear program and missiles. However, unfortunately for the United States, none of these objectives has been achieved. The Americans have not been able to change the regime in Iran. The Americans also failed to eliminate Iran's missile potential and the country's air defense. Moreover, the United States has also failed to destroy the network of Iranian proxies in the Middle East. And most importantly, the United States has failed to force Iran to agree to a humiliating nuclear deal. Iran's nuclear program has not been destroyed, while the enriched uranium is still in the Islamic Republic, Alexander Kotz said. As for Iran, the expert stressed that Tehran forced the United States to recognize Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. In addition, Tehran also forced the United States to start discussing reducing the number of American troops in the Middle East, which was another humiliation for Washington. Summing up, the expert stressed that while Trump declares his non-existent victory over Iran, Tehran has won a very significant interim victory in this war. Iran has not only withstood the attacks of the United States and Israel, but it has also secured a strong position in the negotiation process. Now, Iran will enter the negotiation process not as a supplicant, but as a party that dictates its terms. By the way, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev expressed confidence that the fighting against Iran will continue in 2 weeks. According to him, Trump will never agree to accept Iran's terms, as this would mean a humiliating defeat for the United States. In addition, according to Medvedev, Israel will do everything to disrupt the negotiation process with Iran, as Tel Aviv is well aware that cessation of hostilities will make Iran even stronger, especially amid a sense of victory over the United States. Meanwhile, on April 8th, Israel officially announced that the IDF would continue fighting in Lebanon, as the 2-week cessation of hostilities only concerns the war against Iran.
And that would be at least the flock drawing them out. No, we're going to keep on fighting. Well, so is Iran.
However, such statements by Israel indicate that Tel Aviv is simply ignoring the terms of the ceasefire. The fact is that Pakistani Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has officially confirmed that the 2-week ceasefire agreement also applies to the fighting in Lebanon. Thus, it becomes clear that Israel has already begun to sabotage the current truce in the Middle East.
This is 4 hours ago, so this is already old. Okay.
Meanwhile, despite all efforts, the Israeli army is still unable to take control of the southern part of Lebanon. Unfortunately for the IDF, everything that is happening indicates that Hezbollah is not only not going to give up, but also intends to inflict a crushing defeat on Israel. It is well known that since March 2nd, 2026, the IDF has taken control of only 210 square kilometers of territory in southern Lebanon. In 30 days, the depth of the Israeli army's advance with total air supremacy ranged from 4 to 10 kilometers. All this indicates that the Israeli army, despite its huge advantage in the air and in heavy equipment, not only faces great difficulties during the advance, but also suffers quite heavy losses. In 30 days of fighting, Israel lost hundreds of tanks and armored personnel carriers in southern Lebanon. As for manpower, Middle Eastern sources were able to confirm the death of 70 Israeli soldiers. At the same time, it is reported that this figure may be much higher, especially given the fact that the Israeli authorities are doing everything to hide the losses of the IDF. In many ways, Israel's failures in southern Lebanon are attributed to the competent actions of the Radwan Special Forces Unit. In particular, they use very effective tactics, attacking Israelis in small groups, using a large number of FPV drones and anti-tank missiles.
Are they going to mention the fact that they went and trained in Russia in the Russian wars and then came back with that new wine? They're out there whooping that ass with what they learned on the battlefield in the Russian war.
In addition, the Radwan Special Forces Unit also continues to launch missile attacks on IDF facilities in northern Israel. For example, Hezbollah officially confirmed the destruction of the headquarters of the Israeli Elite Golani Brigade, located north of the city of Akko. At the same time, it is reported that several commanders of this elite Israeli brigade were killed as a result of this missile strike. Well, my friends, seeing all this mess, it becomes clear that when planning another war in the Middle East, Israel underestimated not only the military capabilities of Iran, but also the Lebanese Hezbollah.
Fair use. I'm not making any money. This is for learning and teaching purposes in the name of Yahweh Shem Probably, yeah. So what have we learned? Well, Trump got his ass whooped. They're running right now, and that's the order of the day. This is Second Ezra 15, and then these. Okay, start right here because this goes to Lebanon. Here's Iran, right? Joining battle with the Arab nations right here. And then down here, here's the Arab nations getting the upper hand because Iran won. And then what does then mean? After this, after the Iranians join battle with them, then shall the dragons have the upper hand. That's what we're looking at in Lebanon. Remembering their nature, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them, then these, who are these? The land of the Assyrians, that would be the Gulf outposts that the U.S. has there, those little bases that they have, and Israel proper. That would, and Babylon the Great qualify as the land of the Assyrians. So down here, and from the land, then these, Second Ezra 15 and 32. Then these, which is the small hats in the Babylonians, these shall be troubled, bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. This is them getting run the hell up out of the Middle East. And then what's going to go on over here in Continental 50? Okay, so it's all in there, and we know the outcome. We know who's going to win. Okay, and they're already winning. Okay, IDF lost its commander of the elite Golani Brigade right after Israel violated. Let's look at some of these comments. Never trust Trump and Netanyahu. That fake Pakistani president, puppet of America, Imran Khan, who was in prison probably for getting with Princess Diana before she was killed, should be released from prison. See, put back in charge. So they know what they're doing over there. Israel's nothing but a paper tiger. Make Israel Palestine again, MIPA. Or Zeke, you need to update this ceasefire is update this. Ceasefire is over. Yep. 13 hours into the ceasefire, Israel dumped 160 bombs in 100 locations in Beirut. All this carried out in 2 hours and all civilian targets. As of this point, 250 are dead and over 700 injured. There's your ceasefire. See, somebody tries to debunk it. Sadly, 100% correct. Those who believe they can ever do a deal that involves Israel are 100% delusional. This says, additionally to the above, another international journalist has been targeted by an IDF drone and killed. Now that brings the total number of journalists killed since October 7th, 23 to 262 murdered by the IDF. So this pariah is just growing. Pray for the innocent victims of aggression. Going to let Zayo Riel get away with carpet bombing civilian areas in Lebanon, causing mass casualties. How many more times must we have to hear about Zayo Riel? That's the same guy. Only one member of the IDF needs to be left. He to turn off the lights in Israel forever. That goes into the Shevis Goy. I don't wish to hear of them in perpetuity. That's coming soon. Not reducing troops in the Middle East, but no presence at all. This is the moment when Trump should say, I am done. They don't know how to do that. So what's happening is the Americans are waking up slowly to the fact that they lost the war. Now it's about to be noised abroad. The rest of the world knows that America lost, and Americans are the only ones that don't know. But they're slowly going to find out, and as they do, the Most High is going to harden that heart. They're going to get right back in that fight. The Most High is hardening Pharaoh's heart right now, and they're going to yet durst fight. So this isn't over, right? This thing ain't over. It's just getting started. Let me prove it right here. This is the what? What time are we in? Woe is me, woe is me. The beginning. Woe is me, 17. Woe is me. 2 Ezra 16, 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in the beginning of sorrow and great mourning. The beginning of famine and great death. The beginning of wars. Is the war over? This is the beginning of the war. Okay? And the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of bad time. Evils. Evils. What shall I do with these evils shall come? Okay? Jump down to 2 Ezra 16:33. The virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars that are just beginning, shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish with them. So we're going to continue to watch. This war is not over. We're at the beginning, and it's just going to get much, much, much worse until it's right here in the Continental 50. So with that, we pray that the elect are edified, your brothers and few sisters. Shabbat Shalom.